The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone. People in my audience are saying, Sonia, you are so pro-Trump that you refuse to cover anything negative about the guy. People have challenged me, cover something that Trump has done that is not good. And you know what? I'm up for the challenge. I'm actually looking for stuff. If I find anything that I can be truly outraged about that Trump has done, believe me, I'll be the first to tell you. I will definitely speak up if I see anything terrible going on. So I'm keeping an eye out for anything terrible, but somehow so far I haven't found anything. Well, maybe one thing. Let me just cover some of the things that came up in my Facebook feed this week. Trump signs anti-abortion executive order surrounded by men. Did you hear that? Trump just banned abortion. There go women's rights. Well, that's a bold step backwards. In fact, if anybody actually bothered to read the article, what it says here is that Trump reinstated the Mexico policy, also known as the global gag rule, which was first put into place by President Reagan in 1984. It prohibits giving U.S. funding to international NGOs that offer or advise on a wide range of family planning and reproductive health options if they include abortion. They also point out that the Helms Amendment has prevented U.S. tax dollars from funding overseas abortions since 1973. Proponents of the global gag rule believe the policy is nevertheless still necessary, arguing that Helms isn't strong enough by itself. So I don't really see what the big deal is here. Are Americans really so outraged that they don't get to pay for abortions in other countries? I think this executive order is pretty much in line with what the American public wants. I think that if Trump signed an executive order approving giving money to fund abortions in other countries, the American public would be really outraged. House approves bill barring taxpayer money for abortions. There goes your funding. Look, there was no federal funding for abortions to begin with. This is called the Hyde Amendment, and it prevents the federal government from giving money to Medicaid to fund abortions. But every year this bill had to be renewed, and it was getting renewed every year. And what Trump did was he passed an executive order that would make it so they don't have to renew it every year. But really nothing has changed. Women can still get Medicaid-funded abortions in cases of incest, rape, or for health reasons. Now imagine if it had been the other way around, that Trump had passed a bill approving Medicaid funding for abortions. I'm pretty sure the American public would have been absolutely outraged. President Donald Trump to publish weekly list of crimes committed by immigrants. That's horrible. What is this, Nazi Germany? What are you gonna do next? Put them all in FEMA camps? The headline says, crimes committed by immigrants. But then if you read more, it says Republican plans to publicize criminal actions committed by aliens and crack down on sanctuary cities that protect migrants from being deported. Now, immigrants and aliens is not the same thing. So the concern here is that because the order uses the word just criminal actions committed by aliens, it doesn't say whether they're illegal aliens. And in a way, you could take the word alien on a broader level to mean anyone who came from somewhere else. So I can see there's a little bit of room for paranoia. Although personally, I don't really see exactly what this is going to accomplish. I mean, just the fact you're already in a country illegally, that's a crime right there. Do they feel they have to prove that people who arrive illegally then commit more crimes? I'm not saying this is a good executive order that he passed, but I just want to point out that jumping to the conclusion that this is going to target all immigrants is a bit of a stretch. I think it should be probably reworded. But let's not panic. Donald Trump pledges to sign anti-LGBTQ First Amendment Defense Act. It would effectively legalize anti-LGBTQ discrimination across the board, including employers, businesses, landlords, and healthcare providers, as long as they claim to be motivated by firmly held religious beliefs. What a bunch of bigots. I think I've seen enough. I don't think a landlord should be allowed to kick out anyone because of who they sleep with or what they wear. Whether it's a man in a dress or a girl in a miniskirt, I'm not gonna rent to a woman who walks around with her bazooms hanging out. There goes the neighborhood. So how bad is it really? Well, here is H.R. 2802 First Amendment Defense Act. And if you read this bill, you'll see that it has nothing to do with employers and landlords being allowed to discriminate. What it says is it prohibits the federal government from taking discriminatory action against a person on the basis that such person believes or acts in accordance with a religious belief or moral conviction that, 1, marriage is or should be recognized as the union of one man and one woman, or 2, sexual relations are properly reserved to such a marriage. It's prohibiting the federal government from discriminating. As in, when it comes to stuff like your federal tax treatments, federal grants, deductions to charitable organizations. It all has to do with money, basically, and the government not being allowed to discriminate against anyone based on their religious convictions. And in fact, if you go and look at Wikipedia, individual states have anti-discrimination laws, and the federal government has never really been in charge of this. There is no federal statute explicitly addressing employment discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. So nothing has really changed. And as far as I can tell, this FADA has to do with money. It doesn't in any way override state laws against discrimination. Couple last things. Trump passed 2 executive orders, one considering the KXL pipeline and the other one for the DAPL. I don't actually know exactly what is the deal with this. I would like to see something that works out favorably for the interests of the people who are living or are in that area. I mean, the First Nations people. I think there needs to be some kind of peaceful agreement. If they need to build a pipeline, maybe there's some other way they can do it. Whatever it is, it shouldn't violate treaty rights if that's actually happening. And it shouldn't put the environment in excessive jeopardy. I think this is something that needs to be looked into more. I really just hope that there's a good outcome for everyone involved. Keep in mind, Donald Trump did not invent the DAPL. This was already approved under Obama. I mean, this whole Standing Rock protest, this was all going on already under Obama. And I hope that they find some way to negotiate something where there can be an agreement on both sides. What I don't want to see is force. So that's something to keep an eye on. And finally, Trump says he believes waterboarding works. Well, yeah, you could even probably get people to admit that they were witches and put hex on your crops if you do it right. When Dick Cheney said that, people called him a war criminal. So Trump, do not become a war criminal like Dick Cheney. Do not approve waterboarding. That's terrible. Terrible. And that's it. I have to go now. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.